are watching ESPNcricinfo Match Day in association with our technology partner Vivo. We told you it's going to be a very important toss to win, and Afghanistan have made the most of it, winning that toss, batting first, and this is what they've got on the scorecard. 249 runs is what they got, all out right at the death, and picking up 5 wickets there. Pereira, in fact, he went wicketless to begin with, then got those wickets at the death. But the star with the bat, Rahmat Shah for Afghanistan, getting 72, and then Insanullah with him, that partnership that they have for the 3rd wicket is what has taken them to 249 in almost 50 overs, because they were all out before that. I'm Nikhil Naz, with me Deep Dagsupta, and very fit Parvez Maroof joins us. I say very fit because while Deep and me are piling up the calories, eating and watching cricket on TV, Parvez was actually playing a professional cricket match. Now that I've, good on you for being so fit. Now that I've paid you a compliment, now's the tough question. I'll start with you, Parvez. Are Sri Lanka looking at an early exit from the Asia Cup?
Ooh. I wouldn't say so. I mean, it's true that the score that Afghanistan have put up is more than par. But the conditions for batting, and you just have to back themselves and I mean, it's important not to see the failure. Go out there, yourself, trust yourself. I mean, cricket is a game of win or lose, but it's very important that be yourself in the middle.
Okay, we aren't getting great audio from Parvez there, but just to sum up what he was saying, he's saying can't really say that Sri Lanka are completely out. Of course, they've got an experienced batting lineup. The score is above par, but this team has it in them to chase that down. Okay, Deep, I'll come to you. He believes it's still a 50-50 game is what I'm actually gauging from his answer. But you had said 51-49. Does that now change more in favor of Afghanistan?
I would say so, yes, because I was looking at 220-230. They've for me they've scored more than what I was expecting, and even in fact I believe the captain said at the toss that they would be looking at 220. I think 249 is a good score, the kind of bowling attack that they have. So I'm going to increase that 51 to, let's say, 55 now.
55-45 is what you're saying. Okay, because you mentioned, something that was said right at the start of the match where the Afghanistan skipper came out and said 220. Do you think that was the right approach? I mean, of course, they'll be happy with 249, but at that point, it was the right approach. Just aim for 220.
Listen, I've been following them for a while, and that's been their approach. It's not that he's mentioned it publicly, so that's a different issue, but that's been their approach because that's the kind of faith that they have in the bowling side and the bowling attack that they get to 220, and it's always easier if you look at 220 and get a good start like they did in this innings, then with wickets in hand you actually get to 250, 260. But I thought that was a really well compiled innings as far as their batting is concerned.
Also, they have no other option but to have that approach, you'd say, because of the batting that they have?
Absolutely. I mean, if you look at their batting lineup, generally most of the teams, the top teams would have big hitters in the end. But if you look at their batting lineup, they don't have recognized big hitters in that side. I mean, Nabi can hit a few, so can Rashid. We've seen that, seen him doing that. Naib can hit a few, but they are not recognized big hitters, so to say. Like, for example, Sri Lanka has Thisara Pereira or Angelo Matthews if he stays long enough. So, I mean, that's how they do it. And if you see their progression, the whole innings, I think from the first to the second over, their run rate was at 4. And they stayed between 4 and 5 right through. Maybe a couple of overs, a few overs in between where they went above 5.25 or not. But on a consistent basis, they've stayed between 4 and 5.
Okay, there you have it, as you were talking about their run rate also. Also, what you're seeing is essentially the partnerships that they were building also, you think was one reason why they've reached
that was very, very crucial, the partnership, because, we were talking about the start that they would get, and that they got a really good start. They got a 57-run first wicket partnership, 50 runs second wicket partnership, so they were comfortable at 107 for 2 in if I'm not wrong, I can't be wrong, it's on by 25th over. And that's what you want, because if you look at their batting strength is about strike rotation. It's about picking up those singles and twos, as I mentioned, and also not to forget this ground. This is a biggish ground. It's difficult to get big hits on a ground like this.
Okay, I want to go to Parvez. Before that, one quick question to you as well, because we're talking about the last few overs. I think they got 60 odd or roughly around that in the last 10 overs. But the important thing was, I think they had 7 wickets in hand. From there on, would you have liked to see them score a little more, or because that lack of of hitters, that was the problem. What do you think?
We were watching the game together, and I said because they don't have those recognized big hitters. So I'm not surprised that they got 66. I think it was 66 of the last 10 or something. I'm not surprised because that's their batting style.
Okay.
But what they really did well was maintain that momentum right through the innings, and not like other teams where you take it a little easy in the middle and then fire in the end, even though you have wickets in hand. But that's not their style. This is what they do.
Okay, one, the fact that they didn't have a lot of big hitters, as Deep mentions here. Farvez, I'll come to you. Could other really important factor be the experience that really came into play of someone like a Thisara Perera? Didn't have a great game to start with, but then brought in that experience to get those 5 wickets, which ensured Sri Lanka, I beg your pardon, Afghanistan end up where they have.
Yeah, I thought he bowled well in the depth. I mean, to start with, he didn't bowl that well in the first 3 overs. But he was very impressive in the depth, picking up 5 wickets in 9 overs. He was, he had a clear plan of only bowling Yorkers, and he succeeded. And it's normally the hit stays when Thisara Perera bowls well, he bats well too. So in this game, we need him pretty bad because he's 4 spinners in Afghanistan team, and if Thisara gets a go, it'll be a crucial factor.
Okay. Funny you
Can I just quickly add?
Sure.
The other fact is you have Malinga bowling in the depth.
Yeah.
More Thisara, you have Malinga as well, and to be fair, as Farvez mentioned, Thisara and Malinga also bowled well. That's another reason why they got so many runs.
Funny that you mentioned they don't have any big hitters, because I know someone who disagree with you. That's Rashid Khan. You know, he came pretty late there. Would he be now sitting in the dressing room and telling them, hey, you should have sent me a bit higher up? He fancies himself as a batsman.
He's opened an innings before, and he's got some 20 odd runs if I remember correctly while opening. So yeah, he can bat. I mean, as far as that's
2
exactly
fours, 13 runs of just 6 balls
so
today.
If you remember what I said, recognized big hitter. I'm not saying they can't hit big. They can hit big. Nabi can hit big. So can Rashid. So can Naib. But recognized as somebody who would do consistently for someone like Thisara, because we know that's how Thisara plays, that's his style of play. But as far as Afghanistan batsmen are concerned, their style of play is rotating the strike. And they were very smart, even in the death, when they weren't getting those big 4s and 6s regularly, they were running really well. They were still picking 5, 6 singles or a couple of doubles here and there. So they were still maintaining that 6, 7 runs and over.
All right, because we were talking about what are the things that Afghanistan did really, really well, as we mentioned earlier. One was that they stitched a lot of partnerships together right at the top. So that foundation was there, which eventually helped them reach 249, which at the moment looks above par. Okay, so that partnership, Farvez, I'll come to you, all the partnerships that they got together. The questions would then also be, of course, apart from the fact that Afghanistan really applied themselves, questions would be asked of the Sri Lankan bowling. It wasn't the same Malinga we saw with the new ball as the Malinga that we saw versus Bangladesh. Why do you think that happened? Do you think Afghanistan were better prepared for it?
I think they were much better prepared, as well as Malinga didn't get the swing, but he got his Bangladesh. I mean, maybe the different conditions in Abu Dhabi doesn't swing that much. And he was trying to take wickets up front, but he was unlucky in a couple of occasions. I thought half chances going away. But overall, I think, I very agree with what Deep just said. The maturity of the Afghanistan batsmen, I mean, they were not just looking to hit, they were hitting the strike, and they knew in this condition, 4 of 220 and 250 the winning.
Okay, Malinga, he says it didn't really swing. We could see that it wasn't. We were surprised because, when we were building up to this particular game, one, we saw a lot of grass on the pitch. We thought it would really help the fast bowlers. It was supposed to be cooler here than it was to be Dubai, and yet the ball plays completely.
It did swing a bit, but most importantly, because of the grass in the outfield is lush green, and even the pitch is kind of green, so it didn't reverse as much as Malinga would have wanted. That's one thing. The other important thing is to play Malinga, you've got to stay onside of the ball, because a lot of these balls they tail in. Now, if you look at say someone like Shahzad or the other batsmen as well, they keep onside of the ball. So they don't really move their feet a lot, so their bat flow is a lot simpler. So comparatively, for maybe other bowlers, you'd say, oh, their feet isn't moving that much. But for Malinga, if you're not moving your feet, you're in a good space. So I think that's, that lack of foot movement kind of helps when you're playing Malinga. We spoke about the reverse swing. The other important thing is, I know he's coming back from a long layoff, more than a year or roughly a year. So we didn't actually see him bowl too many Yorkers, and bowling Yorkers or whatever delivery that you bowl has got to do with confidence as well. So maybe he's not feeling that confident in this game, maybe perhaps, that he didn't try too many Yorkers in the death. It was predominantly slower deliveries which he went to, which is obviously his strength again, but didn't see him bowl too many Yorkers today.
Okay, one, as you say, very interestingly there, that sometime a shortfall in technique actually ends up benefiting the batsman, as it happened with the Afghanistan players here. The other you kept talking about, you know, when we were building up to this match, you said, we'll have to see if they've come with a plan for Malinga.
Yes.
Did you notice a plan there too, apart from that shortfall?
I really didn't see the plan, so to say, because they really did go after him. You know, Shahzad, I mean, you would expect him because that's the only way he knows how to bat. But you know, even Ihsanullah, I mean, I thought he started off really well. So they did all right actually. They managed to kind of see through his first spell, not just see through. Actually, they got decent amount of runs against him as well. It's only when, you know, Akila came in, that's when, you know, he became wickets, and that's where it slowed down a bit.
Okay, we'll talk about the star was Rahmat Shah there for Afghanistan, getting those 72 runs, very, very crucial. Farvez, I'll come to you. I was listening to Coach Phil Simmons of the Afghanistan team. He said he is by far the technically most correct batsman that we have. Did he impress you too?
Absolutely, he did. I mean, his technique was very simple. And playing against Asid Malinga, he was very, very good down the leg side. I saw some good quick shots as well as some on drives. I mean, he knew his limitations and he knew his responsibility as well to bat throughout. So I think he did really well. And that 72 is very important for the Afghanistan, what they made of that one.
Okay, for those of us who don't see too much of Afghanistan cricket, he may have come as a surprise, but not for you. I mean, these were signs were already there for him to be scoring this time.
Yeah, I mean, he's the highest scorer for Afghanistan this year, and he's scored at an average of 44 in this calendar year. So obviously he's in great form, but he is, as you mentioned, Phil Simmons has said it, he's technically very sound. If you see the repertoire shots he played in this innings, that'll give you an idea. He drove well, he pulled well, he cut as well. So he's got the repertoire there. Most importantly, he understands his game, and okay, his strike rate was 80 in this game. There were just 5 boundaries. So 20 out of those 72 runs came off boundaries. So it was predominantly keeping that strike rate high. That would mean that he ran really well, he rotated the strike really well. So that's the thing that you would want from a middle order batsman in one-day cricket. It's not about hitting 4s and 6s. It's predominantly about how good you are picking up those singles and 2s.
Okay, I'm probably getting ahead of myself, but I'm looking at Test cricket too, because we saw Afghanistan, didn't even last 60 odd overs against India. One issue was that they didn't have the patience to last that. Is he the guy who can sort this out for them?
Yeah, he's one of those guys, definitely, yes. And listen, and again, these are things that you learn. You cannot learn something like batting a session or batting 2 sessions while practicing. You will only get to learn when you play 4-day cricket, when you play test matches. By experience, you learn how to play sessions, a day or a day and a half. And this will come to them because, I mean, look at their growth in the last couple of years. It's phenomenal, their growth in international cricket, be it batting, bowling. And the good part is, yes, the bowling is their strength. Batting would be their weakest suit, but today they're batting fired, so that just gives them that much more of an advantage. Okay,
the batting fired, but for one guy, your good mate Ahmed Shahzad, I mean, you know, he was looking good, then he goes and plays a reverse sweep. Why would he do that?
That's him. See, the tricky part is, what I really like about him is he's got all the plans, right? You speak to him before a game, he's like, yeah, you know what, I'm going to do this against him. But once he crosses that line, it's like a kid in a candy store, you know. He just loves playing, he just loves batting, he doesn't care what happens. So he's a free soul, and you don't want him anywhere else. I mean, you don't want him any other way, because that's his strength. His strength is his free willingness. I mean, it'll be very difficult to actually get the best out of him by restricting him, right? So I think you can, you know, the reactions from the captain and the coaches every time we're hitting, it was like, why again? But as a coach, it's frustrating. As a captain and a teammate, it's frustrating. But you also realize that this is how he is. You've got to let him go.
And some days it pays off
Yeah.
too. Some days he will get you those big totals which will actually be match-winning totals for the team. Today they've got a good enough score in 249. But why are we saying that it is above par score? That is because on this particular ground you do not see too many teams chasing totals even close to that. Forget about 249. That's the highest chase there. Just 217 that Pakistan got versus England in 2015. Then you've got two other chases of last year. Again, that involves Pakistan and Hong Kong, but the numbers aren't great. Just at 209, 206. Farvez, I know at the start of the program you said still even Stevens of sort. You reckon Sri Lanka can get that, but these numbers aren't encouraging.
Stats aren't that great for the Sri Lankan favor, is it? I mean, I don't think so. But overall, I mean, looking at the wicket, looking at the combination, I mean, as I said last time, that we need extra batsmen in the top 6. That's exactly what we got. So I think I still back Sri Lanka to go out there, you know, play their own game. That's what we always play. They have to play their own brand. They to come out triumph. I mean, it's very important first 10 overs against me. Whoever does well will have a good chance.
Okay, the first 10 overs, as Farvez says, that's going to be very, very important. And who's going to come out there? One of their most experienced batsmen in Taranga would be right out there. Let's take a look at all the runs that Sri Lankan batsmen have scored in ODI cricket since 2016. I just mentioned Upul Taranga is right on top there with an average of 39. Almost 1,500 runs is what he's got. The other one, no surprise there, another experienced hand in Angelo Matthews. He's got 1,300 odd runs. You've got Dikavela there, unfortunately not part of this team, and of course Chandimal also pulled out. So those are the two key members who are part of this list but missing from this particular match. I'll come back to Upul Taranga. It's been quite a turnaround for him as well. You know, an experienced hand, dropped, coming back again, but now he's starting to answer his critiques by getting those runs.
He is getting those runs, but if you look at that average, which is around 39, as an opener, and a senior player like Upul Taranga, he's been there for a while now, you would expect him to have a better average than that.
Yeah.
So that's something that he needs to work on, and Sri Lanka needs to work on, because the other important thing is, if you see the number of times he's made a comeback, I mean, that just tells you a story in itself.
Yeah.
So that's something that Sri Lanka needs to look into. But yes, I mean, let's not forget Champions Trophy versus India, right? So they have it in them. It's not that they can't. They have it in them. It's just that whether today is their day or not. And for that, they'll have to really, really play out of their skins. A couple of things that will go in their favor is the dew factor. How much of it is, we don't know, but there would be some. Secondly, obviously there's grass on the pitch, so there might not be as much turn as you would expect, let's say, yesterday in Dubai. So that could also kind of negate the Afghan spinners. So these two things that they need to really look into, but having said that, they really have to play well today.
Okay, the dew factor is very important. We wouldn't know how the ball is going to play, but Farvez, because he talks about the way the pitch was looking, it had a lot of grass there, yet we saw someone like an Akhila Dhananjay pick up those 2 wickets. At the end of the day, would you say, irrespective of the pitch, if you've got bowlers like Mujib, you've got bowlers like Rashid, they're going to be dangerous irrespective of the condition, and that's something that Sri Lanka will have to be wary about?
Absolutely. I mean, Rashid Khan, Mujibur Rahman, those are champion bowlers who have proved that wherever they have played. I mean, it's very important not to play their names, play the actual ball. I mean, we know that Rashid Khan has a billion googly and he's right-handed bats more often. But you just have to play the delivery. I mean, you have to keep it as possible. I know that the pressure is still on. 250, and that's the highest score if you chase down. But it's very important to be yourself and back yourself in this situation.
Okay, I'll get back to Afghanistan spinners. Quick word, Farvez, I'll come to you. The Akhila Dhananjay factor, you know, it just went on to show you how much Sri Lanka missed him in that Bangladesh game.
Absolutely, he did. Indeed, we saw a lot about him in the last show as well. I mean, he's a champion bowler. He can contain as well as he can contain. Anyone is any captains like that. I mean, that should stay nervous. 2 wickets. I mean, it's been brilliant. And overall, world cricket now, spinners are very effective in the conditions. So, but Afghanistan got 3 spinners, so it's going to be very interesting to see how our boys going to go up.
Okay, he talks about 3 spinners that Afghanistan have, and they are all good spinners in their own right. But the 2 that really stand out are Mujib and Rashid Khan. And this is a very important stat there, because this is their record in ODI cricket in UAE. And look at those numbers there. I mean, forget Sri Lanka, no team would be happy to look at those numbers and then go out and bat against them.
Absolutely. Those numbers are phenomenal. Average of 12 and 17. Look at the economy as well. So, I mean, there's no two ways about it. But I was just looking at the 11 and they have 5 bowlers, right? They don't have... They have 6 bowling options. Rahmat bowls a bit as well. But they have out and out 5 bowlers. So, the key for me would be how they play the other 30 overs. You've got Mujib's 10 over, you've got Rashid's 10 over. How do you play the other 30 overs is very, very key. The other 30 would be obviously shared, I believe, would be between Naib, Nabi and Aftab. So those 30 overs will be very, very crucial.
Oh, interesting. Should that be part of the Sri Lankan plan? You know, we saw the Afghanistan team as well against better bowlers, a little more circumspect. Then when you get the easy ones, and Deep is mentioning there are two weaklings, if I can say, in that particular bowling lineup.
I think if I'm the coach of the Sri Lankan team, what I will suggest is for Mujibur Rahman and Rashid Khan not to give them wickets, and if they score 20 in their 20 overs, if they score something around 75 and 80, it's a big victory. So the plan should be not to take too much risk when it comes to those 2 spinners. I mean, we know that Rashid Khan loves to take wickets. When he doesn't take wickets, he gets frustrated and he's going to give you loose delivery. So very, very important how our batters play these 20 overs. And if we can compete with them and not give them wickets, go about 75, we'll have a really good chance.
Okay, completely out of line, but one quick word again. Farvez, we've spoken about this earlier as well. It didn't happen in that match versus Bangladesh. In this match, would you want Angelo at number 4?
I would definitely like to have Angelo at number 4 and Kusal Perera to open. I mean, he's a player who likes the ball coming to the batsman. So I think Kusal Perera should open and Angelo at number 4
All right, that is what the Sri Lankan team can look at doing. Of course, 249, as we've been saying, very, very tricky against Afghanistan. One, it's going to be tough on this particular stadium, on this particular pitch. The other, of course, the bowling lineup that Afghanistan has. I'm not going to ask for prediction because Deep's already made his prediction, said 55 in favor of Afghanistan to go through, I mean to win, and then of course they go through, and it could then mean early exit for Sri Lanka. Will that happen or not? We'll be here at the end of the match, and both the gentlemen will be joining me in Deep Dagsupta and Farvez Maroof. Just a reminder, you are watching ESPNcricinfo Match Day in association with our technology partner Vivo. Thanks so much for watching.